Apparently, there was a massive fire at Company X. The news hit me like a ton of bricks because that's where my husband works. I hope he's okay. I quickly dialed his number, my heart racing as I prayed he had escaped the fire. The phone rang, and just when I thought I couldn't stand the suspense any longer, I heard his voice. "Hello, Max. Where are you? Are you safe?" Relief flooded through me, and my voice rose with the emotion. He sounded irritated as he replied, "Why are you yelling? I'm at work. Don't call me while I'm working," and abruptly hung up. At least he wasn't caught in the fire, but something about his tone seemed off. My name is Mona, and I'm 32 years old. I'm a nurse, and my work has always been a central part of my life. I got married 3 years ago, just before I turned 30. I was fortunate to marry in my 20s, if only just. I met my husband, Max, through a mutual friend. We clicked instantly and have been enjoying married life in his company housing. Although we've been married for 3 years, we still don't have children, but I'm confident that we can build a happy family together. Max can be a bit self-centered at times, but overall, he's a kind and loving person. He often expresses his love for me, and I feel secure with him. Lately though, he seems overwhelmed with work, spending more and more time on it, even on his days off. He must be exhausted because he's become distant at home, barely paying attention to me. After dinner, he usually collapses on the sofa in front of the TV, though he doesn't seem to watch it. Instead, he's constantly glued to his phone, with the TV as mere background noise. When I spoke to him, all I got were brief responses like "yeah" or "oh." At first, I wondered if I had said something to upset him, but I decided to chalk it up to his busy work schedule. He must be exhausted, I thought, so I made it a point to bring him lunch and prepare dinner every day. I put extra effort into making sure our meals were nutritious and well-balanced. Then something strange happened. The day before, a coworker called me, asking if I could switch from the night shift to the day shift. It was a sudden change, so I quickly emailed my husband to let him know. I mentioned that I'd be working the day shift instead, and that I'd make dinner and wait for him. But he didn't reply. I assumed he was busy at work and focused on my own tasks. Yet even after I finished work, there was still no response from him. He used to reply quickly, even while he was at work, sometimes even adding emojis to his messages. This time though, he just read my message and didn't respond. Is he just swamped with work, or is this what happens after 3 years of marriage? Feeling a bit down, I stopped by the supermarket on my way home and picked up ingredients to make another nutritious dinner for him. It was a particularly cold day, so I decided on a warm, hearty one-pot dish. I prepped everything, chopping the ingredients, and then waited for my husband to come home so I could start cooking right away. But no matter how long I waited, he never came home. He usually gets home around 7 p.m., but by the time he finally walked through the door, it was already 9 p.m. "Welcome back. You're late tonight," I greeted him. "Did you have to work overtime?" "Oh yeah, but did you have to switch to the day shift suddenly?" Yeah. A coworker had an emergency, so I had to cover for them. Sorry I didn't tell you sooner." "I see. Well, I guess you couldn't help it, but it's a bit annoying to find out on the same day. I might have made plans to grab a drink or something." "Oh, you're right, I'm sorry." I apologized as I turned on the stove to heat up the hot pot. "You haven't eaten yet?" "No, I thought I'd wait for you." "Thanks, but next time, you don't have to wait for me." Hearing him say that made me feel a little sad. I waited for the hot pot to come to a boil. When it started simmering, I served my husband's portion, and then mine. I was starving after waiting so long for him. As I dug in, savoring the delicious meal, I noticed he wasn't eating much. "What's wrong? You're not eating much," I asked, concerned. He seemed a bit flustered and replied, "Oh, yeah." Then he hesitated before saying, "Actually, I was working late, so a junior colleague bought me a rice bowl. I'm not really hungry now. Okay, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. But you should have told me that before I started making the hot pot. I think he noticed I was a bit upset. All right, just put my portion in the fridge. I'll eat it tomorrow morning, he said, attempting to lighten the mood. He then lay down on the couch, and after a few minutes, he suddenly got up and said, I'm going for a walk. That's unusual, I remarked. I haven't been getting enough exercise lately, and with all the late nights at work, I need a change of pace, he explained as he started getting ready to head out. Sitting alone at the table, finishing my meal, I felt a bit empty. Ended up putting my portion in the fridge too, feeling like I'd eaten too much. We hadn't spent much time together lately, so I decided to join him for the walk. But he refused, saying it wasn't good for me to move around right after eating. It also mentioned he planned to go for a long walk and wanted to be alone. So he left on his own. Something about his behavior felt off, so I decided to follow him secretly. Unfortunately, my fears were confirmed almost immediately. Despite my quiet steps, my husband walked with determination, stopping in front of a park that was a bit far from our house. He looked around, as if checking to see if anyone was watching, and then seemed to be communicating with someone on his phone. I wondered who he could possibly be talking to. A few minutes later, a car pulled up. My husband walked over and started chatting casually with the driver. It was dark, so I moved closer to get a better look. That's when I saw her, a woman with long curly hair and glossy lipstick, sitting in the driver's seat, laughing happily as my husband got into the passenger seat. He's definitely having an affair, isn't he? Before I could fully process it, the car drove off with the two of them inside. Stood there for a while, stunned. Then a text message from my husband arrived. He claimed he had randomly run into someone he knew and would be home a little late. Someone he just happened to meet. I didn't believe him for a second. He had said he wasn't hungry, yet it was past 2 a.m. when he finally came home. He didn't even notice that I was awake. He seemed tipsy and went straight to the kitchen for a glass of water. After that night, he often worked overtime, conveniently only when I was on the day shift. We already had a hard time aligning our days off, but now it seemed impossible. Yesterday, he worked late, and today he claimed he had to work on his day off too. But is it really work? Or is he meeting that woman I saw? I couldn't stop thinking about it. I went online and started searching for information about detective agencies. Before I knew it, I had submitted an investigation request to the most reputable one I could find. I felt guilty for going behind his back, but I reasoned that if nothing suspicious was found, I could finally put my doubts to rest and trust him again. Waiting for the investigation results was agonizing. My husband remained as distant as ever, and every time, even as I saw his face, I couldn't get the woman out of my mind. I needed clarity, and soon. Then something unexpected happened. It was Saturday and I was busy with my day shift as usual. My husband was also working, despite it being his day off. I tried to focus on my tasks, thinking that since we were both occupied with work, I could push those troubling thoughts aside for now. Suddenly, I heard the distant wail of fire truck sirens. They grew louder and closer, and just when I thought they would pass by, more sirens followed. It wasn't just one fire truck. There were 2, 3, maybe more. This had to be a serious fire nearby. A sense of unease settled in my chest. 2 of my colleagues who had been in a hospital room returned, their faces grave. They were discussing the fire. "Do you mean the fire nearby?" I asked, trying to piece things together. "Yes, that's right," one of them confirmed. Apparently, there was a big fire at Company X. In that moment, it felt like I'd been struck on the head with a hammer. Company X was where my husband worked. I quickly explained the situation to my colleagues and rushed to call my husband to make sure he was safe. "Please be okay," I thought as I dialed his number. Even though we hadn't been talking much lately, I still saw him off every morning when he left for work. I prayed that he had managed to escape the fire. The phone rang, and finally, I heard his voice. "Hello, Max. Where are you? Are you safe?" I asked, relief flooding my voice. He seemed annoyed. "Why are you talking so loud?" "I'm at work. Don't call me while I'm working," he snapped and then abruptly hung up. At least he wasn't caught in the fire, but something about his response felt off. How could he be working when there was a fire and multiple fire trucks on the scene? It didn't add up. And why was he so cold when I was just trying to check on him? Anger started to build inside me. Had he been using those morning goodbyes as an excuse to meet another woman all this time? I made a decision then and there. I was leaving him. As soon as I got home, I started packing my things. When I checked the mailbox, I saw that the results from the detective agency had arrived. That sealed it. I was leaving with the truth in hand. My parents came over to help me pack, and the moving company was on its way. Had my things moved out immediately. My husband didn't seem to have any idea that I knew the truth. He didn't even contact me that night, which only confirmed my suspicion that he was with his lover the entire time. I packed up most of the furniture and appliances I'd had since my single days. The room was nearly empty, stripped of any trace of my life there. As I stood in the deserted space, I realized I had no lingering attachment to this house or the life I had led within it. Moved my belongings to my parents' house and immediately started searching for a new place to live on my own. It wasn't until the next day that my husband finally called. "Hey, what's going on? Most of your stuff is gone." "Of course. Moved out. What? What the hell were you thinking? When are you coming back? What about my meals? The house chores?" His questions left me stunned. That's all he cared about. Talking to him reminded me of the fire at his company. He wasn't at work. He was with his affair partner instead. The anger that had been simmering inside me flared up again. "Why didn't you get another woman to take care of that?" "Huh? What are you talking about? You were with a woman named Linda yesterday, weren't you?" "What? No. I was working at the office." "Oh, really? So how long did you work yesterday?" "It was a busy day. Even though it was my day off, I worked late into the evening." "I see," I said coldly. "That's why I was so surprised when you moved out. Why don't you stop lying already?" "Huh? You lied about going to work, didn't you?" "I wasn't lying. I was working. How can you claim to have worked until the evening when there was a fire at your office during the day?" "What fire?" "When I called you, several fire trucks were dispatched to your company to handle a blaze. I called to make sure you were okay. You told me not to call while you were working, acting like there was no fire at all. Well, and I have evidence of your affair from a detective agency. You can't deny it." His voice faltered. "Oh no. You'll need to deal with my lawyer for any further correspondence. I'll be pursuing alimony." He pleaded repeatedly for my forgiveness, but my feelings had long since dissipated. "I'm sorry, but there's no way to fix this. I'm hanging up now." Wait. I proceeded with my lawyer and demanded both a divorce and alimony. The divorce was finalized with all the evidence solidly backing my claims. My husband and his affair partner paid a fair amount in alimony. It turned out his partner was a junior colleague from his workplace. News of their affair quickly spread through the company, especially during such a dramatic time. Their actions during the fire only added to the negative sentiment among their colleagues, leaving them both facing a lot of shame and cold stares. They truly deserved it. Meanwhile, I moved into a new apartment and embraced my comfortable single life. As a nurse with a stable job, I'm taking my time and not rushing into a new relationship. I'm enjoying my own time and hoping to meet a sincere man when the time is right. Even though I discovered the affair unexpectedly because of the fire, it was bound to come to light eventually. He deserved every bit of it. Enjoy your single life as a nurse.